Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Retrospective. I'm your host, of course, Ernest, EJ Christian. We are doing another watch along here. And of course, before we get started, joined here, of course, by the man, of course, himself, Mr. Rob the Genius, 1/3 of the Managers Podcast, also the host of the Rob the Genius Podcast, also the author of the Rob the Genius blog. What else do you do, Rob?
I think that's it for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
No singing and dancing, just
yeah.
talking and writing.
Yeah. So we're doing another watch along, actually, but I'm a little surprised I'm gonna do this one because some of you guys may even know this. I am not a huge fan of the WWE pre '86. Like obviously, I know the Hulkamania era started '84, and that's when the boom began, the golden era. But I'm not a massive watcher of '84 and '85. To me, once '86 rolls around, that's when I'm bought in heavily. But what I didn't realize, and last week I figured this out. I forgot while watching Backlash was last weekend was actually the 40-year anniversary of the start of Saturday Night's Main Event. The first episode, which is we'll be watching today. Now some of you guys already know, and we've done on this podcast, we've been doing it already for the last couple of years on the Retro Podcast. We've done a bunch of main event episodes from 1988, 89. We just did 1990 recently, a couple times this year. But 85 is another anniversary year. But again, because I don't necessarily, even I know what happens, obviously, with the Hogan with Piper and all that stuff, Ordinoff, I'm not as heavily invested in 85 and 84 as I was from 86 on. But we have to acknowledge that 1985, 40th anniversary of the Center main event. And the main event for me is a big deal because of everything that WWE's ever done in this company's history, WrestleManias and Rumbles. And if you ask me, Ernest Christian, what is your favorite thing to watch on the network or historically, it's always going to be Center's main event. Always number one for me. So I love watching these main events. And so we're going to acknowledge the fact that we're going to cover the anniversary, 40th anniversary of main event. So obviously I just turned 5 years old, Rob. I was not watching wrestling at this time. However, you're a little older than I am. So what were you doing in 1985, May 11th, 1985?
Okay, 1985. I was 11 years old, and I was just starting to dabble in pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't actually see the first WrestleMania live, but I'd heard about it. I had some friends who were wrestling fans, and so I started paying attention because, like, just about everybody, I had seen Rocky 3 and Mr. T was in it. And so this idea that Mr. T was going to be in this thing
Yeah.
with Hulk Hogan, and even though I had no idea what it even was, but I just saw Mr. T and Hulk Hogan, and they're going to be in they're going to be in this thing called WrestleMania.
Yep.
And I had a few friends who were wrestling fans, and so they kind of told me about it, and then I watched it a couple of times on TV, and that was the infamous story where my dad saw me watching it and told me immediately that it was not real.
Wow. That's
have,
the whole thing from the word go, man.
have I told you that here? Have I told the story here?
I think you might have told it one time, I think.
Okay.
But go ahead and say it again once too. I don't care.
Okay, so my dad sees me watching it, and the first thing he says was, "It's not real." Right? He just because that's how my dad was. He was very blunt and frank and to the point. And then, but my interest was piqued, so I did not stop. And so he noticed that I was still watching it. And then one night he saw that Bruno Sammartino was on commentary. And then he revealed that he had once been a wrestling fan, and that Bruno was he went to go see Bruno several times way back in the day.
Did Mr. Bonnet also know that back then was fake as well?
Oh yeah, I'm sure he did. Yeah.
Okay.
And so
That was fair play.
yeah, I mean, but I mean, it was a good show. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so he was one of those people. He saw there was an arena in Washington D.C. called Turner's Arena, um, and Vince Senior ran it, and he would go there. I think when he was stationed in New York, he went to Garden a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so so seeing Bruno on commentary got his interest, and so he would occasionally sit down and watch it with me. And then now I didn't see this live either because it was 11:30, and I was not allowed
Right.
that late back then.
Yeah.
But about a year later, I became old enough. And they started letting me stay up later.
Yeah.
I
And granted, this show came on only 5 times a year.
Yeah, so
So it's very special. Before pay-per-views, we had this.
the first Saturday Night's Main Event that I actually saw live was, I believe, it was later on. It might have been the last one of 1985 or the first one in '86.
Mm-hmm.
But I think by the end of '85, I was watching regularly. And
I think the first one. I think the first one I saw live. I'm thinking about that as you mentioned that. I think the first one I ever saw live for me, like in real time, like watching it live, not in hindsight, not watching the highlights, was in October of '88. Now we covered that already once. Rob, me, you, and DJ about 2 years ago. We covered that. That was the one where the Snake and Andre.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
for
was that
me,
one.
I remember watching Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk, and they were in a Saturday Night's Main Event match.
Yeah, that was '85, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually in early 1986, I think it was March of 1986.
Mm-hmm.
The
That was
first,
that was the Bundy when Bundy injured Hogan going to Mania 2.
yeah, so this was before Bundy injured Hogan, but my dad took me to my first house show,
Ooh,
and it was in early 1986. The main event was Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk.
you had an awesome father, man. My dad was not into this shit. My dad's still not into this shit. And he makes fun of me. He's like, I used to watch. He's like, I used to watching this crap. Like, it is what it is. Can't quit it, bro.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we started then. Um, you know, that was the first house show he took me to, Hulk Hogan and Terry Funk, and Randy Savage and Junkyard Dog, and it's a Ricky Steamboat and Don Morocco it was a
No,
martial arts match. And it's funny because basically it was a regular match, except they're both wearing the karate
that's it.
gi.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
All right, that's funny.
yeah.
All right, real quick. So, of course, this main event, the first one, took place May 10th, 1985, from Uniondale, New York, in Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum, and aired the very next day on May 11th, 1985. The event of course, aired on NBC and drew a 8.8 rating. We're going to watch 4 matches here tonight. The first match will be a 6-man tag match between the U.S. Express of Mike Rotunda and Mary Windham and Ricky Steamboat, with Lou Albano in the corner, versus Nikolai Volkov, the Iron Sheik, and George Steele with Freddie Blassie in their corner. Then a WWF or WWE Championship match between Hulk Hogan with Mr. T versus Bob Orton. Of course, Bob Orton is the father of Randy Orton, the Viper,
Yes.
with White Piper in his corner. We got a women's title match between Wendy Richter with Cyndi Lauper against the Fabulous Moolah. And then, of course, the last match will have Junkyard Dog with Bertha Ritter in his corner. Beavis was mom, I believe.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Versus Pete Doherty. Of course, with this episode, you go on Peacock, Sunday main event, season 1, episode 1. Which I think anything else I need to say before we get started. This one. This event also is literally a month after the first WrestleMania. So we are now in WrestleMania, post WrestleMania this time. So the Piper Hogan feud is definitely at a crescendo at this point. Paul Orndorff just turned babyface at WrestleMania, so we have that. So again, if you need to pause this to set up, go ahead and feel free to pause it. Otherwise, if you're ready to go, we get this party started. Rob, are you ready?
Let's do it.
Here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And there's Cyndi Lauper. By the way, congrats to her. She is being entered into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, excellent.
Long overdue. Long overdue. You want to talk about underrated vocalists all time?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
her. She's in that conversation.
And
that girl can sing.
And like she was one of those people at the dawn of like MTV's rise She was one of the key figures.
Oh wait, kids, just Hogan and Mr. T. Now, I don't think you guys understand how big Mr. T was in 1985.
Yeah, like
Huge, huge.
yeah. I mean, he was in 1985. He was as big as The Rock is now.
Yes, 18 was huge. He was in movies. He's
Yeah,
everything. He was doing a lot.
I mean, he was everywhere, and
Here's the intro.
yep.
Roddy Piper. I love these. I love these like these intros for the show. Like that's so classic. Again, I think for me, for 19, I keep saying I don't really watch 85 as much, although I know what happened because the skill wasn't really. It was definitely more sports entertainment in 85. That drove the business back then. I always say Savage was the first guy that really got me into like, okay, workers. You got him, you got Tito, obviously Steamboat gets there later in the year. Jake
Yeah,
Roberts was 86. I think 86 is really the inflection year that this company really, in my opinion, took off.
because now it was this year. Savage and Steamboat both came over. Well, not, Savage came over in '85 from
85,
Memphis.
July 85, yeah.
Yeah, and Steamboat came over, and I think Steamboat debuted at the first WrestleMania because he had been in NWA, for forever.
Yeah.
And yeah, because
What
I
is
mean,
this?
those matches that Savage and Tito had, I mean, they were just phenomenal. I
My
mean,
God. The Boston Garden and all that.
yeah,
His Iron Sheik. So much heat this guy had back then. Now, this guy was actually world champion the year before this.
yeah,
Before,
and
Hogan took it off on him. By the way, if you're watching us watch this event, I brought some goodies today. I brought some Tostitos. My wife made some very nice homemade buffalo chicken dip. Chicken dip she makes every week for me now because I fucking love this shit and it's healthy too for the record. So you hear me like crunching here because I'm enjoying my buffalo chicken dip. As a Sheik and Volkov get into the ring here.
yeah,
Now, this is a little different here. So the main events you'll see in the future, they'll be backstage with a backdrop doing the interviews before the matches. Here you see them right outside the like pretty much by Gorilla. I would say this is Gorilla right next to it. Doing the interview. This Steamboat right there.
yeah.
He doesn't age a wink, by the way. I don't know if you've seen him recently. He looks great. Not a lot of guys in this business age well. He did.
Oh, Steamboat.
Yeah, he aged
Yeah,
very well. Yeah. I think he took really good care of himself, actually. So this is Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham.
yeah.
Um, they were gone by late 86, I think, 87. I wonder why. You know?
Oh, well, because Barry never stuck around. He didn't stick around. Like I guess Barry when he came to WWF, he never stuck around very long because he was an NWA guy, and
Right.
he came over in like '84, and then he stayed through '85, and then by '86 he was back in the NWA, and Mike Rotundo wasn't there that long. This go around he wasn't there.
Right.
He stayed a little bit longer. But he was, I mean, they were both NWA guys until, I mean, when Rotunda came back and did the IRS thing later. But both of them were, they were NWA guys at heart.
Iron Sheik. Iran, okay. Russia, okay. USA, puh.
It's just great.
Is this what it? Okay. Are they playing Real American here also, too? Let me see.
No,
No.
this is some.
So Hulk Hogan's theme song was initially used for this tag team first.
Yeah, and then they.
But I can't remember it was this year or the year before that happened.
I think he's still using Real American. I think it was in '86. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at George Steele.
And George was a heel for the longest time.
He'll flip though within this year when Savage gets there, because him and Savage get into it really early.
Yeah.
I can't believe that feud alone, Savage and Steel, lasted like close to 2 years. Crazy. They squeezed the juice out of that feud for as long as they could.
Yeah.
I mean, even WrestleMania 3, when Savage and Steel were wrestling, of course, the greatest match of all time, Steel had a hand in that. Steel technically cost him the title. All right, so the first match here we go. We got Steamboat and the U.S. Express versus Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, and who's the third one? George Steele, right? Now, George Steele, I think at this point was like 50 or close to 50 years old.
Yeah.
He was old already. There's the old white apron. They didn't use as much though. Maybe a couple. They made the first 2 or 3 main events. They used the white apron of the main event logo before it went to all black.
And then the red, white, and blue ropes.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta be honest. If you're a fan of like say like the '90s wrestling and beyond, unless you really have an appreciation for the business from back then, this would be a hard watch for you. If you love work rate matches, it might be a hard watch for you.
Or at least these televised matches, because Vince always produced it like it was a TV show.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
I mean, you didn't do 20-minute matches for TV. Like,
Right, of course.
You do 5 or 6 minutes, and then you get in and you get out.
Very few matches, unless it was like a big main event match, lasted longer than 10 minutes.
Yeah, now if you went to house shows, they matches lasted longer.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, his MO was always this is a TV show we're doing, and
freaking Steamboat was a star. Look at him.
Oh yeah, man.
That dude, I think Vince already knew he had dollar signs for that guy. To be honest, I'm surprised he didn't put the belt on him early. Not the world title, but the IC title. But
well, I mean, if he because when he got there, let me see, I think Tito was still champ here, and then
Tito became champion, yeah.
Won it. Yeah,
so Tito to Savage to Steamboat.
Yeah.
It's Iron Sheik. What a legend he is, man.
Yeah. And now, now people who were not there were people who were specifically not WWF fans. Actually, well, Vince created a lot of WWF haters because of just the style and the way the matches didn't go very long for TV and all that. So there were people way back then who
no doubt. Because if you're a wrestling purist, you hated WWE.
Oh, because I mean, Steamboat was doing 60-minute Broadways with Ric Flair and the NWA, and then he comes there and he's doing 5-minute matches on TV, right? And there were people who just hated that type of thing, and same Barry Windham had a lot of 60-minute draws with Ric Flair, and NWA matches, and so people hated. There were people who just absolutely hated to see guys like that end up just doing 5 or 6 minute TV matches,
Yeah.
Because I mean, because during the 80s, honestly, like if you were reading like the wrestling magazines, like from out, they cover stuff outside of WWE, yeah, they were very anti WWF, and and then basically, the way they covered WWF, it was basically WWF was where your favorite wrestlers went to make a lot of money and not really wrestle much anymore.
Yeah.
Which is
hot crowd here.
Yeah.
This team, look at that power slam, so sharp.
Yeah.
Is it chop to the head here? I think. Oh no, drop kick. No, I say 85 is unwatchable, man. But Steamboat matches is definitely an anomaly for me.
Oh yeah, because I mean, and look, it's I mean, being able to put together a good match in 5 minutes is a accomplishment into itself.
Yeah, you got
I
quite a lot
mean,
of shit.
to be able to put in, to put in enough stuff and tell a story, and all of that, and to do it in 5 or 6 minutes, like that's a challenge, also, right? I mean,
Hmm.
and to me, that's something that should be, applauded. Also, that if you're able to do that type of thing, because I mean, and generally, work rate nerds, they only give credit to people who do, 35-minute matches and whatnot. But being able to, yeah, I mean, you can get in there and tell a story and get your back and forth in there and all of that in 5 or 6 minutes,
Yep.
and that is a skill unto itself.
So at this time, I think Pat Patterson's involved in the company this time also too. He was also one of the agents, I think,
Yeah,
back then, right? Um, yeah, Nick. I was never really a big Nikolai fan, although the character was fun.
yeah. Now this was '85, so you could get instant heat just being a Russian.
Anti U.S. Character gets you a lot of heat. Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov got easy heat, easy
Yeah,
heat.
and then over in NWA, you had Ivan and Nikita Koloff.
Yep. Is Koloff still with us?
Nikita's still alive. Ivan passed away.
He's probably in his 80s now, right?
Who, Nikita?
Yeah.
No, well, Nikita's the same. He's around the same age as Luger, I think.
Oh
Because I mean,
wow, really?
well, they're good friends in real life. I mean, Nikita.
66. That's it. He's only
Yeah,
66 years old. Wow, he's young.
because Ivan passed away in 2017.
Ivan Koloff.
Yeah,
Match over. So of course, yeah, the good guys win.
yeah,
That match didn't go that long. In fact, that match went 6 minutes and 30 seconds.
but they I mean, they had good back and forth. They had near falls. They had,
Hmm. And there's George eating the fucking turnbuckle.
yeah.
Again,
So,
this showed you an 8.8 rating, the first one. So you knew NBC. Well, not wrestling looked very hokey back then too. Also, oh, this is where he turns. This is where Steele turns.
oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're attacking George Steele, Sheik and Volkov. So this is where George Steele becomes a babyface now, and he's getting shared. Look at that. And there's Albano, Captain Lou. Tell him to calm down. I thought George Steele was a great character. I mean, obviously not much in the ring, but I thought it was a great character. Yeah, so like, so they're trying to calm him down. The green tongue. Did this Harry Backer ever freak you out, Rob?
It was, it was different. you know, you know.
This dip's amazing. My God. There's the heels there. There's Mean Gene Oakland. So yeah, this obviously this won't be long doing this guerrilla interviews. It's very odd to watch.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's more. Steele got some more. Freddie Blassie. We don't talk about Freddie Blassie much. What's your opinion on Freddie Blassie? What would you rank him among?
Um. So I missed his heyday. So I mean, by the time, yeah, I mean, by this point, he was kind of he was on the way out.
Piper
So
spit.
I didn't,
Ooh,
yeah, I didn't see his heyday to be honest. So I couldn't, but apparently, according to people who did, he was right up there with the best managers.
yeah. So there's another Piper's Pit here with Orndorff. So Piper and Orndorff had just split up. Wait, no, that's not. This is not from. This is not tonight. This is from. Is this live right now? Or is this from like a highlight from before?
There's the highlight, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So these three were together for WrestleMania, of
Yeah,
course, the main event, and Orndorff, of course, ended up turning babyface. Orton and Piper turned on Orndorff. I wonder if could you have seen Orndorff as champion here? If you if you, if you, if you
no,
use booking logic for today, obviously Hogan's not losing that belt for another 3 years. But if you use today's booking, could you have seen Orndorff as champion?
um, today, mm, I don't know because they are going a little bit. Well, okay, in a world where you have two brands and a world title for each show, yes,
Dude, Piper right here is the biggest heel in the company right now,
yeah,
without question, not even close. But it's funny, I never got to really appreciate him because when I started watching wrestling in 1987, he was straight babyface, and he goes away for a couple of years to do movies, comes back in '89, and he's babyface again,
yeah.
and he never turns. He never turns.
Well, see, I caught the tail end of his heel run.
It was so weird when people say, "Oh, Piper's a great heel," and I never really experienced it live in real time. I agree, he had a lot of heat. So this is live. Yeah, Piper knew how to get heat, bro. This dude knew how to get easy heat.
Yeah,
My thing with Orndorff is I don't think he was really that great on the stick. He had Heenan as a heel, so that helped him.
yeah,
So I think that might have hurt him actually being champion. See, Hogan
yeah,
Hogan had it all. Hogan was decent in the ring, and he also was great on the stick. I don't think Orndorff was charismatic enough. Honestly, Orndorff, it's gonna sound bad, but follow me here. He reminds me of Lex Luger a lot.
that's not a bad comparison. I mean, Orndorff was a much better wrestler than Lex
Oh, I
Luger.
100% agree with that. 100% agree with that. But that charisma, both guys didn't have a lot of charisma.
Well, it's funny because Luger, I mean, again, in WCW, Luger was just a different man, and
I agree.
because I mean, because they played up his best qualities.
We need more of these kind of these more of these vignettes like this, more of these like segments. Like
Well, the other thing is that these Piper's Pits weren't long. Right now, I mean, nowadays you have these like 15-20 minute promo segments, right?
right,
And I think honestly, I think because this was like what about 5 minutes,
easily 5 minutes.
and but look at what I got in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
You
There's
know,
T.
so again, I mean, you know, I don't. We don't want to. I mean, it's not in vogue to praise Vince McMahon, but Vince had that he had, when when he got it right, he
Always got it right. When you got it right, you got it right. That's
Yeah,
for sure.
and also just like in being able just again to pack a bunch of stuff into 5 minutes, right? And I think that is kind of a lost art, really, 'cause now, again, we have these longer, kind of 15-minute promo segments now, and when they're good, they're really good. But when then a lot of them sometimes they drag, and
Yeah, that's nice. That's actually a nice belt. I mind that belt. I'm picky on belts. I'm very picky on belts. So you
that
have the
is,
you have the Hogan '86 they do after this one. It's okay. I had that belt for 2 years until we go to Wing Eagle. This is probably the second version of the title belt they had under Hogan as champion, I believe. I think so anyway. I'm wrong. But yeah, right now it's Hogan right there. We're now 1 year into Hulkamania. 1 year and some odd months, and it's running wild. This dude was everywhere in 1985.
yeah,
That's why the downfall is so significant where we're at now, because this dude was massively over. And again, all this is built on the Hogan name, main events and WrestleMania. It's all built on Hulk Hogan.
yeah,
Like these are the years where they built wrestling companies around a guy or guys, but mostly a guy.
yeah.
Now not anymore. Now not anymore. There's Bob Orton.
Well, I think this must be dubbed over.
What do you mean?
The interest because he was not coming out the Real American
Yeah,
in that
Eye of
year.
Tiger. I think it was still doing Eye of Tiger at the time.
Yeah,
What they put Real American there?
yeah. Well, I'm a few seconds ahead of you, I think.
Yeah. No, it's coming on the hour right now. I'm probably with you. Just have it turned down. So let me check and make sure. If that's overdub, that's a pretty good overdub because it sounds like it's blending well just with the arena.
Yeah. Well, because they over because back in the '80s, like a lot of people used, they
Real music.
yeah, and because they did because I mean it was a wrestling show and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Unless now if you got big enough to where you were, where somebody thought you were making money off of using their song, then
Right.
yeah, then yeah, they come to you.
The most egregious one I can't stand, and I get why they did it because obviously rights issues. And I wish young folks knew about. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Rick Rude's theme song that they use on there. That's not really his theme song.
Oh, I
There's actual song they used back then that they don't use any on the network anymore because of the rights issues. I don't know why. Which I don't know who owned the original rights to that, but it's not on there.
and the Road Warriors came up to Iron Man, um, and so it's dubbed over on every show that they have on Peacock here that the Road Warriors are in.
Speaking of Road Warriors, and those are the boys. You just realized, like an idiot, last week they were actually heels a little while. I never knew they were heels.
Yeah, they started because and look, they were one of the original, heels who got over and they turned them babyface because people didn't want to boo them. Like they were one of the first. They were really one of the original ones to be that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they started out as heels on the NWA, and they were, and I think they started and when they went to the AWA, and they were heels originally, and then like they got over, man, because
Yeah.
like they were just too cool, and they,
How long were they heels for though? How long that last?
for maybe like the first 2 years.
Oh wow, that long?
Well, because when they first came in, like there was a group of guys who were like bouncers in Minnesota. right? And it was them, Rick Rude, Nikita, Kurt Hennig, and a couple other guys. And they were all just they were they were like biker bar bouncers at a bunch of different places, and they all got discovered by like the same people. And so they they didn't all start working exactly the same time, but
Right.
they all got into the business within a few years of each other, and like they in particular, they were not they didn't know how to they didn't really know how to wrestle. They just you were just told they just go in and beat people up. And yeah, I mean they started out as heels because they were big muscle guys and they weren't good. They didn't really know how to wrestle, so they beat people up and they jumped people and and that type of stuff.
Yep.
And they got disqualified a bunch of times. You know, so that's kind of where. But then and then eventually, of course, they did learn how to work, and they were too cool, man. They were too cool to boo. And
Did Bob Orton ever not wear that cast?
he had that cast for like 2 or 3 years, man.
Yeah.
And so I mean, and so of course the commentators always questioned whether he needed it still.
Yeah. So Hogan don't give a damn. He needed it there, I guess. Orton's a good worker, though, man. Obviously, he's not Randy. I mean, obviously, his son is the bigger name now, obviously, 20-something years later into the business, but Bob was a good worker.
Yeah, and that's funny because like Randy, out of all like the second or third generation guy, like Randy's really the only one that didn't do anything that his dad did. Randy Orton has always been an entirely different worker, and
you don't see anything in Bob. You don't see any Bob and Randy's character whatsoever in both in ring or character alone.
well, Randy
Nothing.
does. I think he used to do a superplex a lot, and that was Bob's finishing move.
Right.
But other than that, not really. Um, I mean, like some of this stuff. I mean, like some of maybe the little stuff, but I mean,
By the way,
Randy never did any type of cowboy gimmick, and
by the way, Bob Orton here is 35 years old.
okay.
34 years old in his match.
Oh, he's from that Arn Anderson school.
Yeah. No, Wayne. He's 34 years old. Looks like he's 40 something.
Yeah.
Why is it that guys in the 30s back then look like they're like 20 years older? I don't understand that.
Well, look, it was hard life back then, man. You're on the road,
I mean, and for me, I'm 45. I look like I'm 30 something. Yeah. And, you're 51. You like you're 40 something.
Well, look, we're not on. We're not on the road 300 days. We're not mixing. Painkillers and other drugs.
Are you saying we're healthier today than then? As people?
Well, I think
Rob, it ain't just wrestling. It's everybody else in general. It's people in general.
I mean, some people are, some people aren't, though. I mean, like those of us who, have the wherewithal or kind of financially in a place where we can be better. A lot of us, are healthier. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So how happy are you about your Knicks?
Oh man, listen. Oh man, look. Man, I was up late last night, just happy, just excited, man.
I want to bust your bubbles. Like, I'm so excited for a semifinals win. That's cute.
I mean, yeah.
I didn't want to be a dick. I was like, no, I'm not doing that to him.
Well,
I'm not doing that to Robert. Not Rob.
Well, look, we hadn't been in the conference finals in 25 years.
That's right.
And I
had hair still.
And I think we hadn't clinched a playoff series at home in a really long time.
Yeah. And I got mad last night too. Also watching that game, they kept playing highlights of the because it was also that 26th year anniversary of you guys beating Miami.
Oh, okay.
Allen Houston shot.
Oh, okay.
That put me on tilt yesterday.
And also, I mean, the other thing is that um, it's also, I mean, like the guys on this particular team have really captured the heart of the city, like Brunson especially.
That's the thing. I'm gonna say that. I already told you guys my torture history with the Knicks. The Knicks used to be my number two team after Miami, but then the way you guys treated, not saying you, but the Knicks treated Patrick Ewing when he left, left a bad taste in my stomach. So that's why I have a lot of disdain for the Knicks through the years because of how they treated Patrick Ewing.
To be
Um,
honest, I mean, I really tapped out myself after that for a while. Because I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, because I mean, I had a really bitter taste in my mouth out over that also.
mhm.
Yeah, and then yeah, I tapped out for a while, and then when they got Carmelo, we kind of woke up a little bit,
Yeah,
but then they ran him out of town too. So
the DQ here looks like
yeah,
I got a mess going on here. T's in the ring, Piper's in the ring. This match went short too. Also, I'm not mistaken. This match went 6 minutes 54 seconds. Very efficient.
but again, they got they got everything in.
Yeah, this Piper Hogan, he was hot.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it's Orndorff.
yeah.
Jesse, 3 against 2. 3 against 2. Of course, when the heels cheat, he don't give a damn. He's like, yeah, turnabout's fair play. I call it smart. By the way, if you look up on Google, Shannon's main event, it says 1985 drama, 11 seasons.
Oh,
Drama, not wrestling, drama.
yeah. Well, look, Vince coined that term sports entertainment. It was largely to get around state athletic commissions and whatnot.
All right, next match here we have Rennie Richter and the Fabulous Moolah. It's a lot of really bad stories, really troubling stories about Fabulous Moolah and what she allegedly did in the business back then.
Yeah, and
It's hard to come around with that, man. It really is.
yeah, and I mean, honestly, she's gotten the Benoit treatment basically.
Yeah, I mean she's also hasn't been involved as much anyway. She's so she's easy to I don't say cancel, but she's easy to cancel because she at the peak of his powers here, she wasn't doing much anyway. Like even here, she women's wrestling wasn't a priority. So Moolah wasn't getting a lot of TV time anyway. In fact,
Yeah.
most people know Moolah. People my age or younger will probably know Moolah from the Attitude Era.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. And
Yeah.
that's only because of those things she did with the what's the
May
other fella?
Young.
May Young, right?
Um,
That's it.
because now later on this year, she would
Mm-hmm.
actually win the title back. Because Vince screwed over Wendy Richter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Um, remind me.
Okay, so I think they were having some contract issues or something, and they didn't want to pay Wendy Richter, and so they had her. She defended the title against the Spider Lady,
Okay.
and and basically they did a screw job, and I think the ref counted three, and and basically screwed her out of the title, and then and then under the mask was Moolah.
Who's the guy next to Sydney Lauper?
Um,
Like Tom Petty. I don't think it's Tom Petty though, but it's like Tom Petty.
I think that's her manager.
Moolah here, by the way, is 57, turning 58 this year. She was already over the hill. She was
Yeah.
already, yeah.
Well, I mean, man, because honestly, she kind of killed women's wrestling in the United States.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because of all of her antics,
Yeah.
there were just fewer and fewer women that were, wrestling and just were wrestling in the United States. Throughout, like, by the time we got around to like the end of the '80s, yeah, there was almost like no women's wrestling in the United States because
Mhm.
it had, and now Wendy Richter doesn't get the credit in history now that she deserves. Because when we talk about like biggest women wrestling stars, I mean Wendy Richter was coming out here with Cyndi Lauper, and in 1985, Wendy Richter was as big a star in women's wrestling as you know, pick a name. I mean,
Right. Wait, any era?
well, I mean, for her era at this point in 1985, when she was doing this stuff with Cyndi Lauper, she was as big a deal in women's wrestling. Now, honestly, I really don't know how far if she had any reach outside of it. Probably not, because if she had any real reach outside of pro wrestling, then they wouldn't have screwed around the title. They would have.
Right.
But
So
as far as right here, right here, she was the biggest star in women's wrestling. And now, of course, unfortunately, at this point, again, women's wrestling in the U.S. was almost dead
mhm.
because Moolah had, because of her antics, and pretty much um, hardly
Yes.
anybody, hardly
So
anybody.
mhm.
And at this point there was almost the only other company that was really doing women's wrestling was the AWA, and that's where Sherry was like,
All right. So Rob mentioned the antics. So what he's talking about is that one of the things about Mula's legacy that's been damaged in the years since her death. A lot of allegations surfaced about her exploiting female wrestlers under her tutelage, both financially and sexually.
she was a pimp basically.
Right, pretty much.
Yeah. um yeah, and at this point,
Now, this all came out after she died, right?
um well, it was like it was an open secret in the business that they just kind of let, because I mean, women's wrestling had dried up in other companies. They weren't really doing it, and then like here, and then the AWA were the only ones like really doing it at this point. And a lot of that was because, yeah, I mean, she ran a lot. A lot of the women who had been there, they got out of Dodge because because of the way she was treating them. Well,
Hmm.
because basically she was given free reign over the women's division because it was a sideshow basically, right?
Yeah.
And the promoters didn't really, guys like Vince Senior and whatnot, and Vince Kennedy McMahon just didn't really care. Like it was a sideshow. It was like an added element or whatever, but it wasn't particularly, it wasn't as big of a deal. So they just let Moolah run the division and gave her free reign, and that went bad. And so a lot of the, women wrestlers in the United States just bailed.
Yeah. So Meltzer wrote an obituary for Moolah in which he stated that, quote, different promoters had very different ideas for what being professional meant. Let me see here. Rennie Richter and Mad Maxine both claimed that Ellison, is that Ellison her name? Hold on, let me make sure I don't get the name right here. Right here. Yeah, Ellisor. Let me get that right. Hold on. That's let me see this right. I think Ellison's actually Mula. No. That's Mula. Sorry. She basically used him for wow. Some of the things you hear in here. Um, she's in with WF. Mula took half the earnings of Maxine. Debbie Johnson, another trainee for Ellison, stated that she was required to give Ellison 30% of her booking fee. Wow. Jeez. Over the years, various female wrestlers have come forward stories accusing Ellison of being a pimp who often provided various wrestling promoters with unsuspecting female wrestlers that would use as sex objects. Penny Banner directly described Moolah as a pimp who, in return for money, rents her female trainees out in bulk to wrestling promoters so that the promoters and male wrestlers have sex with them. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that pretty much again that pretty much killed the women's wrestling scene in the United States. Like there was barely anybody left,
Yeah.
in the decade.
Yeah. Mad Maxine described Moolah as an evil person, saying Moolah made money by sending trainees out to this guy in Arizona and pimped them out. In a 2002 interview, Luna Vachon claimed that when she was 16 years old and training at Ellison's camp, Ellison sent her out of state to be photographed by the older man. Although she remained clothed, during the photo shoot, Vachon stated that she felt taken advantage by Ellison and the older man. Wow.
Yeah, and
Richter's won. Oh, the crowd popped this one.
yeah.
Just seen Leper. Someone trying to grab her. My God. The crowd's a little rough. They're trying to grab her. Well, for her sake, thank God she was dead when she found this out because she died in 2007, actually.
Okay.
So Annie Richter was probably the first woman star in this era, right?
Yeah, she was, and then for a while again, so she, they screwed her out of the title, and then for a while, Moolah just held the belt until Sherry came and took it from her.
Yeah. Women's wrestling pretty much died, I think,
Yeah,
in 89, 88, 89 is when it really died.
yeah, because at that point they hadn't. There was nothing left in the WWF, and then
Yeah.
I think in the AWA, I think well, Wendy would eventually go to the AWA for a while, and but yeah, there wasn't. I mean, there just wasn't anything. Yeah, it completely dried up, and the few women who were, like Medusa, she went over to Japan for a while. Um,
There's JYD.
yeah.
Now, there's an argument made that at this time, after Hulk Hogan, the biggest babyface in the company.
Oh yes, he was, and it's just at this point he was physically just, yeah. I mean, he was physically washed up at this point.
He didn't get much really good feuds either, right? Like even like in a couple of years he was there. I mean, he did like the feud with Harley Race in '87 was pretty decent, but outside of that, what else did JYD really do that was like of noteworthy? Really,
Um,
King of the Ring
feud,
maybe with like a
feud,
Savage. Yeah,
feud with Terry Funk.
yeah.
Um,
That crowd loved it. Look at that crowd. Imagine a black man like that. I mean blackity black being so over with a nice, pretty much a very dominant white crowd in 1985. That's pretty deep.
well,
That's pretty
because
dope.
I mean, prior to this, he was the main babyface in Mid South territory and down in like Louisiana. Um, he was. I mean, he really was that guy. I mean,
Any shot this guy could have got a world title shot.
no, because at this point he was physically washed up at this point. Um, now what is this song?
Not his song. Let me see.
Oh, okay, yeah, that is okay. Because when he first debuted there, he came out to Another One Bites the Dust.
That's his song. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the little dance he does? Little dance with the little leg thing. Made us end of the match. It's still playing too. The song.
Yeah.
Who's this guy wrestling? By the way, I know I mentioned him on top of the show, but I forgot his name already. Let me see. I'll find it real quick. Duke of Dorchester.
Yeah.
Who the hell is this guy? I never seen this guy before.
It's just he's jobber.
Yeah. Jesse goes, he's gonna end up with a haircut looks like mine in a few minutes. Jesse was the best, man.
Yeah.
Any word of him being there next week for the main event?
Haven't said anything because
I hope he is. I thought he did a good job last year when he came in that one episode back
Oh,
November.
yeah.
He did a great job, I thought. Yeah, the one thing about JYD, unfortunately for me, his matches are unwatchable at this point. For me personally.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, at this point, he was. Yeah. Again, he was. He's already blown up. He's. You know.
All right, so this is by the way, the last match between Richter and Moolah went 4 minutes.
Okay.
This is Pete Doherty, by the way.
Yeah.
This guy's name, Pete Doherty.
And
he's still alive. He's 80 years old.
Okay. Yeah. See, this is yeah. This isn't exactly great ring work we're witnessing here.
Mm-hmm.
But Dog, he teamed up with Hogan a lot. And,
yep.
And he teamed up with like Tito Santana. I mean, he was really popular, but he just was at this point he couldn't. He just physically just could not.
Yeah. I gotta see old JYD matches then to really appreciate him, I guess.
Oh, well, you have to go back because actually on Peacock there are some of his old Mid-South matches.
Okay.
And if you want to see him really when he was in his prime and he could really actually do stuff, that's what you got to go watch.
Mm-hmm.
Not this.
He died very young too. JYD died in 1998, actually, in a car accident too. Yeah, he died. He died 45 years old. He was only 45 when he died.
Yeah.
That's crazy, huh? He was. I mean, this is crazy. You say he's so. At this time here, he was only 33. Rob, 32. Rob.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, look, man, he was. Well, look, he was into the recreational drugs. Okay.
Oh, well, who wasn't, right?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, so.
Yeah. So that match took 3 minutes and change. Fast and easy. And there's Mama, and this is on Mother's Day too. So this kind of
Okay.
the yeah. Are they gonna do the dance? Get down. Yeah, there it is. There it is. Kids see them like, what else is funny nutty shit going on? Like, this is 1985, man. You got to be there to understand it. You got to be there. That crowd was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got C. Lumber's Mother's Surprise coming up here to close the show. Mother's Day party. Iron Sheik. Gene Mean. I call him Gene Mean. God bless you. Iron Sheik is an American treasure. I don't care what he says.
Oh yeah,
So they were the tag team champions at this point.
yeah. They won them at the first. They won them at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm. That's his mother. Is that your mother? Yeah, she's beautiful. Lou Albano was crazy. And this Hulk Hogan. Winnie Richter and Cyndi Lauper.
Well, they got the '80s hair going on, man.
Oh my God, Cyndi Lauper's hair was. You had to be there, guys. You had to be there. 1985. So 1985, the Niners won the Super Bowl. Lakers won the championship. What happens in '85 also? We Are the World's biggest song in the is Moolah.
Yeah, and and so what was the biggest movie in 19? I think Back to the Future. I think. Yeah, 1985. Back to the Future was the biggest
Yep.
movie in the country.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Causing Lover's mom a scarecrow.
I know. Oh boy, here we go.
Oh my God. Ruined the cake. So Moolah got the cake. Mean Gene got cake.
And now see this was kind of this was wacky Vince McMahon kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's Cyndi Lauper and Moolah. Yeah, Moolah was fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah.
What is Jesse wearing? To what 80s? Jesse called him Mr. Blunderful. Pour one off. Mr. Blunderful. It was Vince, and the show's about to be over here, pretty much. So that's the generic song for the main event. But this one actually debuted in real time until 1988. It's Dick Rebel song, Vince McMahon. Curvin selfies. Yeah. All right. Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad.
And
What was your takeaway from this episode?
well, this was basically kind of like a WrestleMania post show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because
Type of
all the
backlash.
matches, were basically holding, rematches or whatever, that had to do with the matches at WrestleMania. So yeah, this was just kind of a post show, and honestly, and the matches for being, for those matches being as short as they were,
Yeah.
they got everything in, and I mean, there weren't a little more like match of the year or anything,
Right.
but for being 5 or 6 minute matches, they were good TV matches.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought they were actually really, they accomplished. They moved storylines there. They moved the Piper storyline with Hogan. Obviously, Orndale's babyface turn. Moved that too with the segment with the Piper's Pit, and then of course getting hit in the head with the by Orton during the match. So they're definitely moving things here in '85. Again, for me, I'm not a big fan of '85 necessarily, but looking back now in hindsight, there's some good things there. There's some good things going on there. But to me, '86 were really, to me, the golden era for me starts at '86. Once Savage is there already, Tito as a champion still going to the year. Of course, you got Jake is in the company now at this point now. Steamboat's red hot now as a babyface. Hulkamania is Hulkamania, of course. We don't have to worry about that. But at this
Yeah.
point, '86 is where really it's really the first inflection point for me of my wrestling fandom. The first year that I really started to acknowledge. They also, I mean, at this '86 also, you see Freddie Blassie leave, you see Albano leave, and they bring in Slick, and you bring in other managers. Bobby's not even here yet at this point, right? '85, right?
Um. Yeah, he's there. It's just I think he hadn't really. All right. Who was he managing at this point? 85. Um. Oh, he's managing Big John Studd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heenan got there. I'll tell you right now. Heenan got there in '84.
Oh, because he was part of basically because Heenan and Hogan and Mean Gene all came over from the AWA around the same time.
Yeah, so Heenan came in '84, and the plan was for him to manage Jesse Ventura. I don't know if you knew that. However, due to Ventura's blood clots in his lungs, he had to retire, of course. So Heenan again managed Big John Studd, and then
Yeah, I think he managed Ken Patera for a little while.
yeah, Cabatera, Buddy Rose, Porndall, Big Andre, of course. King on Monday, you name it. Yep. He really picked up steam in '86.
Yeah, because that's when Orndorff came over with him, and yeah, because it was with Orndorff basically. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
when
Yeah.
like he really took off and he also managed King Kong Bundy. Yeah,
Yep.
so
Mm-hmm.
but '86 is when he started to really put it together because
This is the
Bundy.
family. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. So not a bad episode actually. Again, I don't watch these older main events from '85 as much. I watch everything in '86 on, but I enjoyed that one. I did. A lot of names here. Probably not going to mention again. On this podcast because they're not really relevant by '86, '87. But yeah, like of course, like the other guy, the Dutch guy, whatever we call it, the last guy that Juggernaut beat, we won't see him again. So
yeah, and now okay, the first Saturday Night's main event. Okay, it's January 4th, 1986. That's when Hogan defended against Terry Funk.
correct.
That's the first one that I watched. That actually let me stay up and watch.
You were 11 years old, right? Or 12?
86. I was still 11. Yep, and
God, my son's age. It's crazy.
yeah, man, and so that was January 4th, and then I think the house show we went to was shortly after that because Hogan was working with Terry Funk on those house shows, and
Yep.
I'm looking to see because I know I got the card saved somewhere in my phone here. So actually, here it is. Um, February 9th, 1986. It was the first house show that my dad took me to. February 9th, 1986.
Wow.
Yeah. Hulk Hogan defeated Terry Funk. King Kong Bundy beat Hillbilly Jim. Ricky Steamboat defeated Don Morocco. Junkyard Dog defeated Randy Savage. The the Hart Foundation beat the Killer Bees. Those were the matches that mattered. Um, that was at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, February 9th, 1986.
That's pretty deep. That's pretty dope, bro.
Yeah.
And he got all the best of the best there too. Also, in that match, in that card, you got Savage, you got Hogan, you got the who's who that year. King Kong Bundy was red hot at that point.
Yeah. Yep. And so, man, this was that was like a few weeks before they did the whole because they did the angle with Bundy and Hogan like a few weeks later on the Saturday Night's Main Event.
Yeah. All right. So, any last thoughts?
No, man. But again, this was a good one, and this you picked a good one to watch here, and
40th anniversary,
a lot of
buddy.
history on this show.
Now I didn't pick this the 40th anniversary. Otherwise, I would have done it. I would have continued. I would have done something else. But it's the 40th anniversary. Like we got to acknowledge it somehow, right?
Yeah.
And we'll probably they did I think 1 or 2 more main events this year. We'll probably cover that later in the year. Yeah, did one in October. I know that, and I think one in November. I believe also too. I think.
Yeah.
So, we'll probably do those later in the year around the time closer to the monthly anniversary, just to kind of acknowledge it.
And now I do wonder if they have. I don't know if they have the. Oh no! Well, Starcade '85 is on Peacock, and that was on Thanksgiving.
Did you go? You didn't go, right?
Oh no, that because back then there was no pay-per-view back then. Because that was an NWA show, and it was in Atlanta and I think Greensboro.
Hmm.
And look, back then there was no pay-per-view, so Starcade was basically just like a super sized house show, but it was but they had big storylines and everything. It was like Starcade was WrestleMania for the NWA.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
but just that for the first few years there was no pay-per-view, so they did all the storylines on TV, and then they did the card, and they played a few clips on TV, but you had to order the VHS tape if you wanted to see the whole thing.
That's right, kids. You guys got it good, man.
Yeah, and that's how it was in WrestleMania for the first year. For '85, you had to order the. You see it, like you had they had it on closed circuit TV that day, but other than that, yeah, you had to buy the videotape. Or rent it from
the good old days.
video store. Yeah, man.
The good old days. Anyway, Rob, plug away, man.
Okay, as always, every week you can hear me, Jason, and DJ on the Mindless Wrestling Podcast. And every couple of weeks you can hear me on the Robert Genius Podcast. I just finished a new episode today.
I finished it today. I actually finished it today. I was cleaning my house.
Yeah, cool.
Good job, man.
Thank you.
And of course, Agent Christian 7 on X, Twitter, whatever you call it. Blue Sky as well too. Earnestly Podcast, of course, on all podcast catchers. Earnestly Pod, of course, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram as well. The rest of Retrospective here, again, celebrating the 40th anniversary of the very first episode, rather, of Science Man Event. Till the next episode, we will talk to you guys soon.